Welcome back. Welcome back. We're here. We're here. Kyvan Gatson here. You know me a little bit, maybe. But who am I with?
Todd Small, back again. I'm just trying to give y'all some good content. You guys can follow me on Twitter at tsmall28 or Instagram at Todd_small28. Kyron, what are your socials again?
Oh, yeah. After you follow him, you can check me out at Gatson Strong on any social media channel. So, yeah. Let's lock in. Lock in.
Let's
Yo,
lock in. Um,
wildest thing that's been happening in sports right now,
in
right?
in general too, bro,
Right.
is
The transfer
transfer
portal.
portal.
All right. So wait, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the
um,
transfer portal?
I think the initial like plan that they had for it, the NCAA. I think that it was something good because I at least I like for wrestling and like just all these sports, right? Like it's like you put in all this time and effort and all this work for a university, and you're not really getting paid for your attributes and the thing that you're bringing to the school, and they're making all this money off you. So I thought it was a great thing to begin with, but I think now it's starting to become something that's just taken away from the real sport aspect of it and just like the hard work of it. Like, I mean, you think about it, bro. Like, you're a football player and you're 17 years old and you about to get you're getting recruited by these schools, and there might be a school that you liked, right? Like it could be a lower level school that you liked and it was just close to home. You wanted to go there. You didn't care about the huge big name like these Power Five schools, and now you got this Power Five school coming at you like, here's $1 million, right?
You think
And
that's a real number
yes.
for a wrestler?
No, not for a wrestler.
Oh,
I just said football. You didn't hear me say football?
okay. I
No,
missed
no,
that.
no, no. Okay, let's be clear. Wrestlers, we not making money like that. Um, but still, even the money that they're giving for wrestlers, it's still money that's gonna make you make a different choice than probably what your heart was trying to go with. You know what I'm saying? Because money talks. We know this. We know this. We see this in everything. I mean, we see it in there. That's the reason why sometimes we can't get the MMA fights that we want. It's not the guys are thinking, oh, it's not the money's not there, and like so like Aljamain just said he'll fight Sean O'Malley if the money's right, and he'll fight him in Boston if the money's right. He said if it's not right, I won't fight him in Boston. Um, but like I said, back to the transfer portal aspect though, I think originally it was good. I think now it's becoming something crazy because now we got guys that's just transferring all over the place. I mean, what do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm not a college coach, right? I don't think I have true aspirations maybe to be a college coach. I could see myself being maybe youth level kids club coach or even senior level athletes that are on that pursuit to being the best in the world. I think I would enjoy that. I don't see myself really being a college coach, but as far as the transfer portal goes, I really just think it's an equalizer. Like you have a 17 to typically 23, 24-year old young men and women, and they now actually have some type of power. It's not a the power dynamic in the situation isn't like ridiculous. Like during my time 2010, 2015, if you didn't like something your coach said or you didn't like how something went down, let's say you lost a wrestle off and you didn't feel like it was treated fairly, like you lost a wrestle
Mm-hmm.
off but you outperformed the person in competition, but then they still let that person wrestle because of whatever, an array of different
Right.
different factors. You actually have control now as a student athlete. Like you're like, hey, if a
Yep.
coach mistreats you
Mm-hmm.
or isn't helping you maybe accomplish the things that you feel like you should be accomplishing, you now have the ability to change your environment.
Right.
Whereas like
Yeah.
before, you really couldn't do that without like a stiff penalty.
Yeah.
Like a kid can come in now, right? Like you can come in 2010 as the number one recruit,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say that 2010, 2011 year, right, was rough for me like it was.
Right.
Now, if that coach doesn't believe in me because of injuries or whatever else that's going on, that coach is going to recruit right behind me
Exactly.
and bring in maybe the next best kid that was maybe a year behind. And
Right.
if that kid's healthy, that kid is probably going to have an advantage in getting the starting spot. But now
Right.
the coach and the athlete kind of have the same type of power. Like you're going to
Mm-hmm.
recruit right behind me because
Yep.
that's the way of the beast.
That's
You
just
know,
how coaching is.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what you do as a coach. Like you want to have a tough room, right? You want to put guys in position
Mm-hmm.
that are scrapping, banging with each other day in and day out, and the cream rises, right?
Right.
But if let's say you get two of the best kids in the room, only one of them is going to start, but
Exactly.
this kid can go wrestle somewhere else, and he can be in the NCAA finals,
Mm-hmm.
but he's sitting behind someone. You know,
Right.
like
Right. And
I just think about those things.
I think what's crazy about that too is like when you think about like NAIA, right, and you got like Grandview, and Grandview a lot of times will have two guys in the finals.
Right.
So that right there is like a testimony to show you that like you can still have like two guys in your program that are top tier guys, but with wrestling, you know, it's only one guy can at the Division 1 level, only one guy can go to that final stage, which is the NCAA's. And so, like you were saying, I that part of it, I love that part about it, right? Where um if we got two really good guys and like some guy just has, you know, that little advantage over me, like, okay, now I have the opportunity to, you know, move on, go to a program where, you know, I feel like I can succeed and be able to accomplish my dreams and not have to just sit or like possibly be like, all right, man, now I gotta go up a weight class or I gotta go down a weight class just to even be able to compete at that point, right? So like, I mean, a lot of people don't understand like with wrestling, like we do so much just to be able to compete. That's not even guaranteed that you're gonna win at all. You like
That's a fact.
it's literally all just to compete. It's
Yeah.
just, we just have that drive in us just to compete, man. And like so, yeah. But that aspect of it, I do like that because I've been around some rooms where I've seen guys where it's you know it's back and forth with a few guys, but obviously there's only one guy that can go. So
Do you so with that? Do you think the NCAA needs to essentially like expand or allow a team to wrestle, 12 guys at the NCAA tournament like they do in NAIA? Because right, like you
I
said,
mean,
Grandview,
yeah,
they've had a couple times for sure that I know of
right,
where they've had multiple people in the finals or
yeah,
multiple people on the podium.
right,
So you can come to this room and you can get
and
really, really
yeah,
good and you'll still have an
and still have
opportunity.
opportunity. So I think that's something that I wouldn't be opposed to, you know, them looking at for, you know, at the D1 level. I mean, because like when you have two guys in your room like that, right? Like that can compete at a high level, that's only getting your room better. So if somebody has to leave, you know, it's kind of like a little downfall. So if you're able to keep like multiple guys at a weight class that are pretty good, I mean why not though? Like why not do it? Why not take 12 guys? If the guy is good enough to go, why not, right? So,
So okay, so like let's say they do take 12, right?
mhm,
Like let's say you can take 12. With that situation, do you only score 10 of them still,
right,
right?
right.
And do you have to pick those 10 before the tournament starts?
Ooh, you got us thinking. I don't know. I feel like you have to take the 10 before the tournament starts and you have to pick your 10. Um yeah, I think yeah.
Why?
I
Why?
I mean, I feel as though if you have okay, so if you're going to send two guys at a weight, chances are they're pretty good, right? Like you're going to possibly going to be all Americans, right? You're not just sending two guys at a weight that's just, these guys are, we're just going to send these two guys, right? Like it's not, you're not sending no Joe Schmoes just out there, right? It's going to be two guys that can compete at a high level, possibly AA, you know, possibly win a national championship. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You kind of got me stuck on that. What do you think though? With the, like,
I don't know how that would look for wrestling long term, right? So like for example, Penn State is at the top of the game right now.
right,
Uh, if you could send 12 guys, right, to the NCAA tournament from Penn State, it would seemingly look like the gap would get maybe larger for them in terms of what they're able to do and who now kids can go being like, oh, like I'll be one of the 12. I have full confidence that I'll be one of the 12 that's gonna go. So like now you might get the number one and the two kid at a certain weight class and just like, all right, we're gonna train together and we're gonna, what's the adage? Iron sharpens.
Iron. I mean, you're right, but with a sport like wrestling, like at the end of the day, like you got to know, like it shouldn't matter to you. Like for me, when I was competing, it didn't matter to me if I had to wrestle the number one seed first or whatever, because in my head, I'm gonna have to eventually wrestle that person regardless. So I think to what you're saying, okay, I get you're saying like about the gap, right? But like if you got two good guys, right, that can potentially be in the finals, one or two, like you were saying, right, and say I'm going to a different school, right? Like I can't even like let that like affect me because I'm gonna end up having to wrestle him regardless if I feel like I want to win a national title. But I feel like, are you talking more of the aspect of like team race?
Yeah, team race.
Team race.
Team
Okay.
race.
Um. Yeah, you're right. You're right because, I mean, if you're not if you're not one of these like Power Five schools, I feel like you're definitely gonna be at a disadvantage
You
for
know what?
sure.
If I'm a coach right now, I'm trying to I'm trying to find the kids that want to be different. Like, yo, I want to find the kid that feels like slighted, like has that chip on their shoulder. They feel disrespected. They feel looked over, like glossed over. Like you didn't respect what I did as a high schooler. You don't respect my credentials. Like I'm trying to find that kid and be like, hey, come come join me
Hmm.
and let's show them what they missed out on.
Right.
Like try to build that relationship, build that bond, um, and that loyalty with that young man or woman, right? And just be like, hey, we can beat these guys. These guys are beatable.
Yeah.
Like you've seen it happen. Like,
And sometimes I feel like that's the guys you want in your program is like them those guys that just have like a chip on their shoulder. Maybe it was like a little bit under the radar, as far as like in their recruiting process, right? Like, because it could be multiple different reasons. It could be from the state that you're in that you didn't get recruited highly. It could just be from the you weren't going to too many national tournaments. Like I mean, for me, for example, I'm from Georgia, right?
right,
Like, and especially like around when I was graduating, like it's not like like the first place people are going is not Georgia to look for recruits, right? So you got to put yourself out there. Like I was having to go to um, all these different national tournaments throughout the year and travel, right? Like I was going to NHSCA, I was going to Fargo, Super 32, all these tournaments just so I can get the looks, and so sorry, my microphone's being weird. Um, just to get those looks or whatever. But like a place like Iowa, right? Like looking back on it, I'm like, man, like I wish I could have went to high school in Iowa, right? Just because of, if nothing else, just of the competition is like, I feel as though like, because for me, like when I was wrestling in high school, bro, I literally had to like go to high school practice, and right after high school practice, I had to go to club practice
right.
just so I can get a like a feel, like a look, right? And and I mean, obviously, that's why I went like the JUCO route too. Though it's just the like, recruiting aspect of it. Like I had like Division 1 offers, but at the same time, I'm not like I. My goal coming in was like, yo, I'm not trying to like, just because say if like a Penn State hit me up, I'm not just gonna go to Penn State just cause, right? Like I need some finances on the table, right, to be able to support myself and be able to back up my family. I don't want my family pulling out a whole lot of money. That was just me. I'm not saying everybody's like that. That's just how I was. So I felt as though the JUCO route for me was the best, and it was just going to be another way for me to be able to get my name out there again, and so
So coming out of high school, what year did you graduate?
2016.
2016. So you graduate 2016. What other than obviously finances, what else played into your decision to pick a an institution that you were going to attend?
um, so a few things that like I can't even remember what I exactly wrote down, but I had this notebook that I like basically like wrote a whole lot of things down, and then I would like when I go to the schools, I would like review that over again and see what schools had that and what didn't. But Basically, obviously, I wanted to be in a room that was like going to be competitive, right? Like, I didn't want to be the best guy in the room at all. I don't even care if it was someone that was actually in my weight class. I wanted to not be the best. That was the number one thing. And then another thing was I wanted to I wanted to be at a school where I felt as though the academic support was good because first and foremost I wanted to get my degree, right? Like that was a big thing for me because we know that injury is a thing that happens,
Right.
and if you're all solely worried about wrestling, right? Like, and that's all your fallback is on. If you get injured, what are you gonna do then, right? Like, I
Right.
wanted to still have a degree, so and that's one of the reasons why I picked Iowa State. Believe it or not, they got a crazy academic support over here. So those were the two things, and then also the coaching staff, right? Like, I wanted a coaching staff that was just like straight up with me and just told me how it was, right? Like, and I think Dresser did that. He didn't really sugarcoat anything. He was like, "Hey, we got a tough room. You're a tough guy. You know, we're gonna feed you to the wolves, and just you got to do what you got to do." And I love that about it, right? And I wasn't really too focused on location. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to be on the East Coast or I want to be, it was more just like solely like so those main things was like those were three main things for me. So like I said, was the academic support, the type of room that I was in because I didn't want to be the best one, and then the coaching staff. And so that's kind of what my three main things were, right? Like, so I mean, what about for you though? What was, you know?
For me, I think it was pretty straightforward. Pretty pretty straightforward. I went on one visit. I committed early, so I graduated in 2010. Um, Kevin Jackson came on a recruiting visit for me in 2009 on my 17th birthday. Came to my house for an in-home visit.
Oh, he did an in-home visit.
Yeah, did
See,
it
I
in-home.
wasn't, I
Yeah.
wasn't, wasn't at that stature yet. So, you know.
um, so he came on an in-home visit, and then also Steve Martin.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he coached at ODU,
yep,
right? Old Dominion.
ODU, yeah.
Yeah.
So
He was coaching Iowa State.
no,
Oh.
he came when he was at ODU. He
Oh,
came
okay.
on a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recruiting
Okay,
visit.
okay, okay. Yeah.
And my first, I think, technical scholarship offer was from Barry Davis,
He was at Wisconsin at
Wisconsin
that
at the
time.
time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think I was like, even though I was a top 10 guy
Yeah.
at my weight, I don't think I was like heavily recruited. And I don't know if that was something that was because people knew where my dad wrestled, my uncle wrestled,
Right.
where I grew up, things like that. But I got a call from um, on signing not signing day, but like the first day, like you can get recruited. Or that first time was like it was like in July of um, that fiscal year, right? So
Mm-hmm.
2009 July. Um, you and I, Brad Penrith, Steve Martin, ODU, Barry Davis, Wisconsin, Kevin Jackson, Iowa State,
Mm-hmm.
and Iowa called, but and they said I was a top priority or one of
Right.
their major priorities, but again they didn't. I wouldn't say they pursued me as if I was a priority. Like they called,
Right.
but I think in their hearts they probably knew, or in their minds they knew like, oh, he's not coming, so we're not going to put that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of it is I kind of took that as like a slight. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you didn't recruit me hard. I'm gonna make you guys pay for it. Like, no,
Right.
that was just
No,
like
for
me
yeah,
personally. Like,
yeah.
I just like I'm make you guys pay for it. You guys didn't recruit me.
Right.
Not that I would have changed anything. I think in my heart and in my mind, I was set on going to Iowa State. I know Kale had a decent relationship with my dad, but he never called
Was
me.
he at Penn State at that time?
Yeah, he had just left to go to Penn State in April of
Okay.
2009. So I won my first state title. I'm like, I'm going to Iowa State. I'm gonna wrestle for Kale. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just put myself on the map,
Right.
and then bam, like
So
yo,
was there ever a thought of um, like a flip, switching the flip and going to like Penn State or what? Like,
not really. Like again, like I said, he didn't really call me. So I I was like, oh, he's not recruiting me. He's more like recruiting my dad. And for me, I wanted someone that I was gonna have a
Yeah.
relationship with. Um, and so I think he just, he was a younger coach at the time,
Hmm.
and he made his um he got to state college, and I think there's a lot going on, like you're
Right.
dealing with people talking about why you left, old relationships, trying to build new relationships, figure out what is what. And I honestly don't think a lot of people at that time would have projected that I was going to be, have the career that I ended up having.
Right.
Um, but that's just, I think, how I see it.
Hmm.
Like the way I believe in my head is like, oh, I'm going to have this type of
Yeah.
career. But I don't know if people on the outside looking in
Right.
could see that essentially.
So when Kale first left, right? Like, um, so who was on staff at Iowa State before he left? It was Kale, and then
Kale, his brother Cody,
mhm.
I think Casey Cunningham and Tim Hartung
Okay, and so,
at that
but
time.
but all right. So when those guys were all on staff, that was like your thing. You were like, I'm going to Iowa State.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was just like you want to wrestle for the dude that just won the Olympics. Like you
Yeah.
won in '04,
Right. Right. Right.
2010, you graduate.
Yeah.
Jake Varner was a 4-time finalist at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Um, and so, or no, he's a 3-time finalist at that point, 1-time champ. And so it's like you're gonna come in and you're gonna learn how to compete, and you're not, again, like kind of like you talked about. You're not gonna be the best guy in the room.
Yeah.
Like you had Jake Varner, you had Jerome Ward, you had David Zabriskie, you had
Yeah. Y'all. That was a
John
crazy room.
Reeder.
That was a
You know what I mean?
crazy
Like
room.
your upper weights in that room were like nuts.
That's
And like
crazy.
to speak on that fact, bro, we have to talk about like your welcome to college moment. Like did you have like a welcome to college like practice or a partner where you were like, yo, what is this?
Mm, trying to think, bro.
Cause like I can tell you mine.
I I don't know if I had a super crazy coming to college moment because I went to JUCO and then I came over to D1, but well, okay, I'll say I think my welcome to college moment was so when I first got to Iowa Central I was going 25 and we had
Okay.
this 33 pounder that had already been in the finals the year before,
Okay. Who is that?
at Zach Hensley. So shout out Zach Hensley. Um, right, so he was a finalist before, and like we get into like the first couple weeks of practice, and he's hurt, right? So like he was sitting out for the beginning of the practices, right? So I'm going with all the guys that I'm like going with throughout the year, and then like a couple months later in the season, like he comes back, right? And I wrestle him, right? 25, 33. I wrestle him. I think we're kind of like going back and forth, and then I get like the best of him, right? And like, but he had just came back, right? So I'm not like crazy, like feeling like crazy about it. I'm like, oh, he just came back. Man, as he like just got going like throughout the season and everything, I could just tell like, bro, this ain't the same dude, right?
Yeah.
And so that was my welcome to college moment was when this man would like get on top of me, bro, because like I didn't really focus too crazy on like the bottom because like I was from Georgia, so I was getting out on everybody, or
Right.
even at the high school level, I'm just doing a quick stand up and getting out. And this man's just barring up my arms, wrapping me up, and I'm like getting flipped, turn. I'm like, bro, what?
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible, right? Like, how can another man physically just like keep turning me over and over like this, right? And then that was when I was really like having to be like, yo, like you gotta get good on the bottom. Like you gotta be able to get out on people. It doesn't matter if you can take anybody down. Somebody rolls you up a couple times, you look at the score and it's over with,
Totally different
right?
game.
Like, and yeah, he was a beast for sure. He ended up actually transferring to Nebraska and wrestling 33 for them.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I feel like that was kind of my welcome to college moment. Once I got to Iowa State, like, yo, I'm telling you, the coaches at Iowa Central, Moffitt and those guys, they get you ready. It's not like no normal junior college, like, um, type of stuff you're going through. Like, you're going through the ringer. So it wasn't like something out. It was like, oh, I went like this little easy route, and then I went to D1 level. Like, no, it was hard, and we were having D1 guys come in that wrestled at Iowa Central before. Bro, you're going on 10-mile runs, like crazy. Like,
Oh wow.
like the stuff that we were doing No smut on Iowa State. Love my alum. Like I love Iowa State. But I'm telling you, bro, when I first got to Iowa State, people were like on the team were like complaining about like some of the preseason stuff. And I'm in my head, I'm like, yo, this is nothing compared to the stuff that we were doing at Iowa Central. Bro, we were running 12-mile runs on gravel. It wasn't even paved roads, bro. It was gravel.
Yeah.
Like you would get done with these runs and like your feet would just be, yo, it would be feeling nuts, bro, because you've been running on rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
And but bro, it made us so much tougher. And just like the type of room we had, man, like we just had tough guys. Like, like JUCO's you're gonna have those guys that are just there like to mess off, but you also gonna have the guys that are just like tough. Like that's why they went the JUCO route. It's not everybody's going the JUCO route because they had bad grades. I think that's like a misconception. We had some really tough guys there, man. Like and so yeah, it was a. I think that was my welcome to college moment, bro.
And
It's just that top aspect, or yeah, that getting turned on top and stuff like that.
I got you. I got you. And Iowa Central has a real good pedigree of
Yeah.
putting out,
Mm-hmm.
winning national titles
Yeah.
individually and team wise, but
Right.
then putting out an array of talent from the D1 through
Yeah.
D2, D3, and
Mhm.
AIA.
Yeah, and that's and yeah, man. That's one of the reasons why I picked Iowa Central. Like I said, I didn't want him to be the best person. So when I saw like, when I started looking into JUCO and I saw like Iowa Central and looked at I looked at the weights obviously the year before, and we had a guy at 25 the year that I went before there. His name was Alex De La Cruz, and he actually won nationals at 25, but he was graduating. And then we had a 33, Zach Hensley, who had been in the finals the year before. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh, I got to go there. Like these lighter weights are doing what they need to do, and they're like all American and they're being national finalists. So that's why I picked it too. Was just because I knew I wasn't going to be the best one in a JUCO room.
I
So
got you. Wait, so question.
yeah,
Who is your Rushmore? Who's your Mount Rushmore of the Iowa Central Triton wrestling program on the men's side? Who's on your Mount Rushmore? Like your um, your best guys? Like
oh, that have come through there.
yeah,
Oh man. So we got Joe Cologne is a good one
okay,
because Joe won nationals at JUCO.
okay,
He also went D1 and he was All American D1.
right,
Could have probably been a national champ. He
right.
beat everybody in that weight class that
He was
year.
ranked number one at
Yes.
133.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
He's also Olympic bronze medalist.
No,
Or
no,
I
no.
mean a world bronze medalist. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Okay.
Sorry. World bronze medalist. So I feel like he's definitely one of the top as far as like what he did after Iowa Central. We got Pat Downey
Okay.
is one. He was a national champ, NCAA All American, world team member.
Okay.
Who else? Colby Covington.
Okay.
Colby Covington won nationals. He was a NCAA All American.
At Oregon
At
State?
Oregon State.
Okay.
He UFC champ at one point. He's a number one contender right now in the UFC for welterweight. And I wouldn't say this person is on my Mount Rushmore, but John Jones went there. He was a national champ, right? Like,
Okay.
and I mean, I guess you can say. I guess I'm just thinking more like the wrestling aspect because.
Well, that was my next question. Like, is there a difference between the wrestling one and the MMA?
Yeah, like because he went wrestling. I think he was a finalist, or he might have won it. But then he went straight into the MMA route. Like, he wasn't like so we didn't get to really see how he was going to be in college. But those are some of the guys that I think about. And then you got like Cain Velasquez and like there's a plethora of guys on like the wall. I just can't even think right now. Like but bro, there's a lot of guys that have came through there that I think a lot of people don't even know about. Like Joe Soto, he's in the UFC. A lot of guys. So yeah, those are my guys. I mean, all good dudes, and went through the same coach too. It wasn't like it was a switch in coaching. This is all Luke Moffett. Look this guy up, Luke Moffett, Iowa Central head coach. He coached all these guys. Him, Troy Bennett, all these guys. So they're known for creating some killers for sure. For sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So what was your welcome to college moment? Because we never even got to that. and I need to hear this because the room that y'all had was insane.
So yeah, my welcome to college moment was 2010. So I'm coming, just a little bit of background information. I'm coming off winning 2 state titles, going undefeated the last 2 years in folk style in high school. But I'm dealing with some injuries. Tore my meniscus, had it repaired between my junior and senior year, and I didn't compete at Fargo that between that year. And then I get to I get to Iowa State and I'm injured. So I don't even get to compete in Fargo my senior year summer, right? Where I feel like I'm gonna have a really good opportunity to win. The my teammate actually Matt Riley, who was here at Iowa State with me for about a year. I wrestled in the state finals, and he ended up taking second at Fargo. He lost to Morgan McIntosh, and
Okay.
I really felt like I was gonna have a really good opportunity to win Fargo, but my body just wasn't holding up. You know,
Right.
like tore my labrum, my first practice back from this knee repair, and I wrestled my senior year with it torn, so it was coming in and out, subluxing,
Oh,
in and out the whole
yeah.
season.
Like Jared Dagan.
Yeah,
His was, oof.
terrible. So super painful, but figured it out, wrestled with it, then got it fixed after
Yeah.
season. So my welcome to college wrestling moment, and I had been wrestling with college guys and grown men for like a while.
Right.
You know, like living in Waterloo, we probably lived about 7 to 10 minutes from the Unidome. So like
Oh, yeah.
I would go up to the UNI room and wrestle with guys like Moza Faye, who was the NCAA All-American and compete on the senior level circuit. Trent Washington, who was an NCAA qualifier when I was a little bit smaller. He was from Omaha. Trent was a beast. And David Bonin, who was the NCAA semifinalist and ended up taking fourth. He was a Louisiana guy. So like I was wrestling with these guys coming through and getting beat up, you know, like while I was in high school and coming into, I would say, my man.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm coming into college, and my dad kind of tells me, he's like, yo, like, you know, college is gonna be tough, you know, like there's gonna be an adjustment phase. And I'm just like, yeah, bro, like I'm really not trying to hear any of that. Like
Yeah.
I am who I am. I'm him, you
Right.
know, like
Right.
I'm
Like that's how you think,
like
you know?
I'm feeling swagged out. Like
Right.
like cause I had wrestled with Mike Van Arsdale, who was a 1987 NCAA champion.
Yeah.
Right. Like I had wrestled Mike had beat me up because Mike was doing UFC stuff back then, and he was one of the high school coaches at Waterloo East. And so I remember one time he came in the room barefoot, Todd, and just beat me up.
And for those of y'all who don't understand, wrestling with no shoes on is the craziest thing out, bro. Telling
Crazy.
you right now.
Crazy.
It's hard.
I've seen two people do it, like
Yeah.
Mike Van Arsdale, and just demolish me, and Jaden Cox.
Yeah.
Like literally, like just coming there. No. I'm like, Jaden, where are your shoes at?
Yeah.
And Jaden just,
It's not easy. I'm telling
right,
you
like
right now.
it's not like jujitsu,
Yeah.
with no
Yeah.
shoes on.
Right,
Like wrestling
right.
with no shoes on, totally different.
Bro, you will burn the skin off of your feet, bro.
Right.
Telling you
Like
right
I've seen
now.
two people do it. Two people.
Yeah.
And so like Mike had beat me up like to tears. To tears when I was in high school. Like
What year was this?
this was like I had won one state, I think.
Okay.
I had won my first state title.
Okay.
And just could not score.
Right.
And like Mike probably was like 40 at that point. And I yes, like, but he's in the UFC. Like
Right,
he's in the
right,
UFC.
right.
He's a 2-time Olympic alternate. He's an
Yeah.
NCAA champ. You know, like dude is
Yeah.
he's
solid.
him.
He knows
you
his
know?
stuff. Yeah.
And he comes into practice, just beats me up. I don't score. I like cry. I like leave crying. You know, like, and I'm just like, but like when I leave crying, I'm like, I have to get better.
Right.
Like it was like a humility moment, like
Right.
humbling moment. Like I was like, at some point, I'm gonna see you again, and I'm
It's
gonna
over
retire
with.
you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Like
Yeah, we putting you on the back burner.
This point never happened. This point never happened. But like that was like the thought process.
Right.
Like even coming into Iowa State, it was like, oh, like I get to wrestle with Kevin Jackson, Olympic champion. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna retire you. I'm gonna retire you from wrestling. Like you can wrestle certain guys to a certain level, but like I'm gonna wrestle you and make you have to like get off. Like that was like my thought process. Like that's what I wanted for myself. I wanted to be physical, technical, and just like I can't do nothing with this.
So when you came into college, did you have like the mentality of like, yo, like I'm about to bust people's, you know what I'm saying, when I get there?
I'm coming for heads. Like I want to know.
Like you didn't even care about like who was in the room. It was more just like, yo, I'm here. I need to show that I'm here and like I can compete with.
Yeah. Like I wanted to arrive.
So who was you? Who did? Who was you? Because I know you had your eyes on somebody where you was like, yo, I got it. I got to feel him. I got to get in there with him. And see
so I thought Jake Varner was going to be there.
Yeah.
But for me, it was David Zabriskie and John Reeder. Those were the two guys, like David Zabriskie and John Reeder. So Dave obviously was the heavyweight national champ in 2010, and he stayed around and wrestled 97 or 96 kilos at the time, so 211. And then John Reeder was a 3-time All-American NCAA champ. He's now the coach at Wisconsin, one of the assistant coaches at Wisconsin.
Yep, and they're doing a good job over there, actually.
And he was 174. He was at 174 pounds. He went undefeated that year. I think 38-0.
You was what, 190 something?
I wrestled 184 my first two competitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was the weight class below you. For all that don't know that.
Right. Like weight class below me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like I'm coming off this injury. I'm like, oh, like it is what it is, right? Like we don't miss a step, Like it's just this is what we do.
Yeah.
When I tell you, Todd, oh my gosh, like and John wrestled hard, like, and it wasn't like I wasn't used to guys like wrestling hard, but the first practice with him was a 30-minute grind match at 6:30 a.m.
6:30 a.m. Y'all had a 30-minute
grind match, 6:30 a.m. And when I tell you I didn't score for 30 minutes, like other than him letting me up, like didn't score. Like I was like, yo, what is this? And like this is 2010, probably November 2010. And he is just putting hands on me like heavy, physical, you know what I mean? Like, and then like you talked about the top bottom, to walk him to college, the pressure he would apply with legs and just the physicality from top, I was like, oh my goodness, like what is wrong with him?
Dog.
Like, and he was, I would say John wasn't someone that would like let you get off your like drilling. Like his drilling was like a higher pace,
right?
Like physical type drilling, like borderline live wrestling. So like by the time you get to drilling, or like after you get done drilling, you're like, oh, you're already feeling it a little bit,
right?
And then you got to live wrestle this man, and it was all bad. Like I left practice. I literally called my dad, and I was just like, yo, like I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah.
Like this is different. Like I've never felt anything like this. Like the way Mike beat me up, like Van Arsdale, was like kind of like just like out slicking me, out manning me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I'll get him next time.
Yeah, like
I
just gotta get better.
Right.
Like the way John Reeder handled me, I was like help.
Yeah.
Like it was like help. And literally my dad just was like, hey, like basically told me like there was gonna be an adjustment period, and was like, listen, just get ready for the next practice. Like your job is just to keep showing up. Like keep showing up. And I was just like, all right. So like we wrestled again later that week, maybe the next day, in a 7-minute like true match. And it was like a 9-4, 9-5. Like I got a reversal, an escape, maybe a takedown, but like he controlled.
Right.
He controlled the whole thing for the most part. But it was like, oh, like you can wrestle with this guy.
Right.
Like like you just have to adapt to the toughness of college wrestling and what they're asking. You never did 30-minute grind matches with someone of this caliber before.
Exactly.
And sometimes they would be 45-minute grind matches, like just to build a toughness, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm super appreciative of that moment because it was like it was an early wake up call. Like,
Yeah.
yo, there's levels to this. And then you got to go see him really dominate the nation,
Right.
right? In 2010, 11, like
Mm-hmm.
38-0.
Yeah.
Like you ever seen the video? I don't know if you can pull it up, but Bubba Jenkins talking about um, all the NCAA champs after he won in 2011 in Philly.
Oh, is it the one where he had like
The bottle in the
the
back,
bottle in the back?
and the bottle just keeps getting
Uh,
like lower, like it's hilarious. But like when he talks about like he briefly goes to John and like talks about John, he's just like, man, like basically like dude's an animal, you
right.
know,
Yeah.
like dude's an animal. And like the thing was like all these guys, like John was recruited by Kale,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? David Zabriskie recruited by Bobby Douglas, Kale, Jake Farner, Bobby Douglas, Kale. So like it's like we're all from that like time or that cut from that like I would say like the same cloth of what type of guys you want
In your
in your
program.
program that love wrestling, want to be around it, want to get as good as possible in the sport and in the craft. But that was definitely my welcome to college moment. And I had some more while I was in high school, like Nate Carr Jr. Would come up from Fort Dodge because he was at Iowa Central. He's now the head coach at Davidson down in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's another one I forgot about. He's an Iowa Central boy, and he is now the head coach at Davidson. He's
Yeah,
doing big things.
yeah,
Man, I'm telling you, bro. Iowa Central, we got this stuff on
yeah.
lock, bro.
But he would
Chokehold.
come up for like Thanksgiving and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a wrestling mat in the basement,
Yeah,
and he would literally like beat me up.
yeah.
It's crazy. Kobe coming.
I was
Kobe
gonna
came.
say,
He
I was
came
gonna
to.
say, bro.
He
He
came
used
to. He
to,
came to my house.
yeah.
For like a Thanksgiving meal or something like that.
Little did you know, bro. He's about to be beating people.
So I don't know. It was wild, but that was definitely my welcome to college moment.
Yeah.
So John Reeder, thank you for that. It was just like watching him prepare, watching him train,
Mm-hmm.
and do all those things. It didn't feel like it was going to be far fetched to do it,
Right.
like because you were with someone and around someone that did it,
literally doing it
right?
right then.
And so
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, like I can't do this.
Yeah.
So when I watched it in 2011, I'm like, oh, I'm about to do this in 2012 for sure, But then injuries, so then it was just like it kept getting pushed back until that was able to come to fruition in 2015.
Right.
But I appreciate those moments,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's like, with you talking about like the like the injuries that you had, because you've kind of been through some crazy injuries, like, and I would say like, because you've had what, 2 shoulder surgeries?
3,
3?
yeah,
Yeah, so you've been through
3.
it. So yeah, let's talk about like some of the, like, what I'm saying, the injury side of like the athletics and everything. Because I don't think it's like talked about enough, right? And another thing too is that I want to talk, bro. I want to talk about the type of like medication these people give you when you're done with like surgeries and stuff like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I just recently had a knee surgery, right? And
Was it ACL?
ACL,
Okay.
ACL. And I think because when it happened, it didn't even hurt. It didn't feel like anything. I think it's just over time because I've injured my knee a few times, and I think some of the stuff was just broke down in there. But anyways, the first thing they do, man, like after surgery, they're like, all right, you got to take this medication, you got to take this. Like they prescribed me Percocets. They prescribed me
Like Molly Percocets, like from that song.
I don't know if it's that. I just know it said Percocets on it, right? And then I had oxycodone, and
Yeah.
I had some hydros, right? I was taking, like, they were trying to make me take like 7 different medications, bro, for this like pain, right? And of course, like when you first get out, you're like, all right, like I'm gonna take this medicine
You got
because
the numb blocker on.
yeah. So you're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this, bro, like because I need this. And bro, after a while, like after like 2 or 3 days, I'm like, yo, like I feel crazy. Like I do not feel, like myself. Like I wasn't eating. I couldn't really drink anything,
Yeah.
bro, and like I just wasn't like the same person. And I'm like, dog, like this is crazy that like this is the stuff that they give you. So I'm like, yo, after a couple of days, I backed up off of it, and I'm like, I'm gonna just have to deal with the pain, right? Because, bro, you go to these Europe countries and you get surgery. You know what they tell you?
I ain't never had surgery in a Europe
Well,
country.
let me tell you what they tell you. They say ice it when you get home and take some ibuprofen, bro. That's it. They don't give you the like it's banned in other countries to like give you that stuff. They don't we're the
Oh
only
wow.
country that can sit there and be like, yeah, here's some pills, bro. Take
Oh,
these. And this
I
is
didn't
like
realize that.
this is a like a leading cause, bro, with like addictions. This is how people get started. If you look at like the pill addiction, a lot of people will say, "Oh, like I had surgery for this or I had this type of procedure done and they prescribed me with it and I got so used to using them because
Yeah.
it does something for you, right? It numbs the pain, it takes the pain away, so it's doing something for you. So you're getting used to taking them,
Yeah.
and then eventually you don't really have any pain, but you're still taking them because you're like that's what you were used to doing, and it messes people up, bro. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had a run in with some opioids
Hmm.
in college. And so like when you have so from 2000, let's see, 2009, right? I had my first major surgery,
Hmm.
which was in July July of 2009. I had my first like major surgery, or maybe it was June. It was right after national duels. So a meniscus repair, not a meniscus scope, but like they go back in and attach it
And
all the way.
yep.
It's a 5 to 6 month recovery. It's not they just snip it out. So they gave me I don't think they gave me Percocets, but they gave me oxys,
Hmm.
and
Which is
maybe
it's a form of Percocet,
yeah,
but they gave me straight up like perks, bro. Like,
and hydrocodone. And my dad would essentially divvy out what I was gonna take,
right,
and then he would start essentially like weaning me off,
right.
because I think he knew the dangers of it. But
Hmm.
then, so let's say that happens in June, July, and I
Hmm.
think I have an addictive personality personally. That's why I try to be very intelligent about what I put in my body
Right,
because I know when I do become obsessive with something, I go all in on that.
right.
And I think just like family lineage and
Hmm.
bloodline, like alcoholism things run in my family. Like my
Right,
dad didn't drink, I think for that reason. My mom doesn't drink, I think partially for that reason because they've seen what the alcoholism and stuff that has done to family. And
right.
so 6 months, June of 2009, then April of 2010, you're getting another surgery, this time on your left shoulder, right?
Hmm.
Like getting that surgery and you're back under the same things. Like you come out the hospital, you got a numb blocker on,
Yeah.
um, and you're getting the surgeries, right? So then you move forward, but then now, 2011, I go to FILA juniors or U20s,
Hmm.
what they call it now. And I tear my right shoulder. And so now, May of 2011, I was probably going to be, I was sitting in the finals for the junior world team.
Hmm.
Couldn't go because I tore my shoulder at the nationals,
Right.
which were in Cleveland that year. But I still won.
Yeah.
So now I'm having surgery again.
Yeah.
So 3 consecutive years I'm having this surgery, and
On
I'm
two different shoulders too.
yes,
That's crazy.
and I'm getting introduced again, reintroduced each time to
Right.
hydros and
Yeah.
oxys,
Yeah.
hydros and
Yep.
oxys.
Yep.
Um, then in 2011 of November, I have my first college match,
Hmm.
and my left shoulder tears again. So the first time it was like 12 to 6. This time it was 6 to 12.
Right.
So now you're getting reintroduced. So like 4 major surgeries where you just keep getting reintroduced to hydros,
Hmm.
oxys. Um, and once I got injured that last time in 2011, November, it was like downward spiral.
Right.
Like you got surgery, you got some leftover, um painkillers from that surgery. I had never drank before college, and you start messing with stuff. You
Right.
start experimenting, even though it tells you clearly on the bottle, like don't mix this with alcohol, right?
Right.
Um, I'm a knot headed, goofy, 19-year-old
Right.
kid that's trying to figure out and navigate their way through maybe like a depression. I'd be pretty sure
It's
it was like a depression,
it's a real thing for sure.
and
Like,
so you're doing things that you normally don't do,
right.
like you're dabbling with marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
you're taking your pain pills, and you're drinking a beer with it, right?
Right.
Like because you want to numb yourself
Yeah.
from what you're dealing with, and so I'm really just I'm thankful for because like I don't think a lot of people knew what was going on, but like I gained a ton of weight,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just like was in like a really bad place for like 2011 to 2012, and then because I couldn't wrestle, like, and all my confidence, swagger, everything came from wrestling, and
Yeah.
now it was like you can't wrestle, so who are you without wrestling? And I didn't know, like that was scary. I
Yeah.
was like I didn't know who I was, like my confidence, um and I would call it my fragile confidence because it wasn't like a true confidence.
Mm-hmm.
All came from wrestling and what I could produce. Like I think sometimes as men or young men, you feel like everything matters based off what your productivity is.
Right.
Like your performance. Like
Yeah.
and performance does matter for sure. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no question to me about if performance matters or not, but I think you can put it in the wrong place,
Right.
um, instead of looking at preparation, things like that. So like yeah, man, I went through a real negative period, like dabbling
Yeah.
and probably being like minorly locked in to like I would say maybe like not like a full blown like addiction, but like a slight addiction to
Right.
those pain pills, because they did make me feel goofy,
Yeah.
made me feel weird, couldn't really communicate like how I was feeling, just kind of in a fog, like
Yeah.
real hazy. So like what had you talked about, kind of weaning yourself off, like how did you do that? Was it like support, like talking to your like dad, like what was
Dog.
it?
Dog, I literally just had to like nip it in the butt like quick, right? Because like, I mean, my dad, like, when I got out, like I talked to him, like the day of surgery and everything, and I was telling him like all the medicine they gave me, but I was still kind of out of it. He was like, "Yeah, just be careful, with those pills and stuff. Make sure you're only taking what they're telling you to take and everything." And so that that's what I was doing for the first like 2 3 days, whatever. But then just how it was making me feel, dog. I'm like, yo, I don't even want to like be
Yeah,
on these right now.
yeah,
Now, and I was like, I was like, if I can't, take the pain, then maybe I might take a half of one or something, right? But I was like, yo, I do not need to be taking 4 or 5 pills at a time, right? Like that's just not me. And how my body's feeling and how I'm feeling is not me because, bro, I was waking up, taking medication, right? Knocking out, right? Getting back up, trying to eat, couldn't eat anything, nothing was going down, going right back to sleep. Yo, I'm like sleeping throughout the day and I'm feeling like hot, basically high all day, right? Because you're taking like these medicines and stuff. And for me, I just knew it wasn't me and I felt like I didn't really need it like that because the pain was kind of bad, but after the first like 2 3 days, like you gonna get that continuous.
yeah,
It's gonna be the same way. So it's nothing. All that medicine does is just numb it a little bit, and then you got to go right back to the pain anyway. So for me, it was kind of just doing it quick. Like getting, I was like, yo, let me get ahead of this because I did find myself like taking it in the morning. Once lunchtime rolled around, taking it again, like on a schedule, like just taking it. I'm like, yo, bro, let me back up because this not even me, and I don't want to feel like this, right?
yeah,
Like I had to like get somebody to go to the store, get fruits and stuff. Tried to put that down because I couldn't eat regular food. Couldn't even put that down. And I'm like, yo, like the whole like not eating thing by itself was crazy to me. Like,
right.
right? I'm like, yo, I should definitely be eating right now. This is making me feel nuts, and I had to get off of it. And I'm glad I did, just because of the simple fact of how it was making me feel, if nothing else, right? Like, not saying I would have got like addicted or anything, but it's a strong possibility. Like it's you people out here, they don't think they're gonna get addicted and they get addicted. Like that's no one ever goes into like, yo, I'm about to be addicted, dog. Like, you know, you just go in taking it, hey, this is gonna help me. And before you know it, it's been a year and you've still been popping the same pills.
Yeah, and then
Like
and now you're doing things like that are out of character to try
yeah.
and get to that place. You know, like you're trying to find a way to get pills, or you're going and refilling a prescription,
Hmm.
knowing you don't really
Like need
need
them.
them because the pain really isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And like I'm just so grateful for my faith, but like more so, not more so, um, the support system and the people that I had around me
Hmm.
that could see that something was like a little
Was
bit
yeah.
off, and like I truly believe God's timing is God's timing, and like my dad getting sick was something that kind of forced me to look at what the situation was.
Right.
Like if you want your dad to see your guys' investment pay off, you can't be doing this.
Yeah.
And so it was like wrestling in a way like saved me from continuing to go down that path. Like my
Yeah.
dad getting sick
Right.
saved me from continuing to explore and do things with that
Yeah,
because
and get on the right track and
yeah,
focus. Get
yeah,
back on that what y'all really was,
what I was
what
raised to
yeah,
do.
yeah, what y'all's plan was for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, that's yeah. So it's I think it's like the opioids and stuff is like something that we don't like talk about enough, especially as a country. Like, bro, like the fact that like yo, like when you think about it, dog, they're literally giving you drugs, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like just being like, yo, here, take these because you
Yeah.
have this pain.
Like, like I think I had.
And it literally said on the bottle, it literally said these are highly addictive. It lets you know, right? And so it's not like it's something that the doctors don't know. They don't. Oh, it's just a few people that get no, bro. Like they know that this is some highly addictive stuff, and they're basically just giving it to you, like, yo, take these.
Yeah.
Like I got phone calls from, I think it was a place that I picked up my prescription, but like, yo, they called me, bro, like after a week, and they're like, hey, your other prescription's ready, right? And I got tons of pills like still left. I'm like, dog, I don't know.
I'm good.
I was like, hey, I'm good for right now. I'll let you guys know when I need to pick up a new one. But I'm like, no, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine about somebody that's like addicted to them, right? They're like, oh yeah, like I need that prescription right now.
Mm-hmm.
Another week later, yeah, I'm gonna need that again because pain's still the same.
Yeah.
Right. Like
And you at some point you learn what the doctor needs to hear.
yeah.
Right. To get your needs met. Right. Like, oh, the
Mhm.
pain is just unbearable.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, like so.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Right.
You know
Like,
what I'm saying?
oh,
Like,
yeah. No, it's wild. It's wild. I'm glad you had the fortitude and support to like pull through that, and
mhm.
because it is dangerous. It's
Yeah.
dangerous. And so like if if you had a message for anyone that is dealing with that maybe, or just like they're trying to figure out if they are dealing with that, what
Mhm.
would you say?
I would just say like you know yourself, you know your body. So, um, for me, I feel like that was that point where I was like, I gotta stop taking these. Like I know how my body feels, and I know the difference between you just feeling like, oh, you're a little upset or whatever, and your body just feeling like, yo, this is not normal, right?
Yeah.
And um, so for anybody that's going through that, I would just say, yo, like look at it in moderation, and take these medications in moderation. And then when you feel like you can get off of them right then, because it's not something that you need to just sit there and be like, oh well, I'm prescribed them, so I need to like finish the bottle. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, just monitor yourself, know your body, and just listen to your body. And when you feel like you can get off of them, get off of them. I don't think it's like, truthfully, I don't think people need to finish the whole bottle. Like, I was nowhere near close to finishing the bottle, and that was fine. Obviously, other people's pain tolerance are different, but for me, I started to see a trend of like when I took it, right, it would numb the pain, then the pain would come back, and the pain is just like it's not like anything crazy like that, right? Like nothing that you can't just, take on yourself or take some ibuprofen, right?
Yeah.
Like you can always take ibuprofen. Yeah, so I think it's just something you got to look at, monitor yourself, and just your body, right? Like and just have your people around you watch out for you too at the same time because they know you as well. So
Facts. Support is everything.
mm-hmm.
They like, what they say. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You
Right.
know, I think that's a African proverb. I might have saw that several different places. But
Yeah.
you know, find your people. Find your people that you can be authentic with. You can be truthful with. They'll be truthful with you. You know, you talked about it earlier. Just someone that's gonna be direct, like to the
Mm-hmm.
point. Tell me what it is,
Yeah.
and with that information, I'll do what needs to be done with that information. But I can't have people in my circle that don't want to be honest with me.
Yeah.
But I also can't have people that don't want to, you know, build a relationship
Mm-hmm.
with me. You know, through trust. So
Right.
that's huge.
Yeah. And also, you know, like one last thing that I really wanted to like kind of cover is like, because you graduated in 2015, right?
I graduated in 2014, finished up
Okay.
eligibility in 2015.
So 2014. So you've been basically not necessarily out of sports for a while, but you've been out of like collegiate sports for some time
Yeah.
right now. And so one thing I wanted to talk about was kind of like the life after athletics, because you know, like we got people up here at the campus that are in Ames and they're graduating. You know, like people just
Yes,
graduated,
graduation. Yeah.
and like I've had like a few people talk to me, and they're just like, you know, like it's kind of like they all say the same thing. They're like, dog, like I don't know what I'm supposed to even be doing after this. Like, what do I go do, right? Because some people, like, there's some people that come to school that are just solely focused on athletics, and they just, you know, they get through school just the bare minimum just to get that degree, right? And now you don't even know what you want to do, or you might have got like a degree that you didn't even plan on using. You just trying to get through, you know,
Trying to stay eligible,
yeah.
all those different things. Yeah.
And like one thing that I tried to tell people too about it is that, you know, you got to understand that there's a lot of people with the same thing. They're struggling just like you, like, right? It's not like something where not everybody gets done with college and boom, they got a job, right away. I think one thing that we have to do as people, especially like as athletes, is honestly just remember like the life lessons that like your sport taught you, right? And you take those and you go into the real world with that. And it's almost like you don't just give up because sports is over with. Like you take whatever that sport that you were in taught you, and you apply that to your work life, or you apply that to your life to go do whatever you feel is necessary to do in life, right? Like, um, yeah, man. Like, and I feel like people just need to know that it's a normal thing, and you're gonna have a lot of questions, and it's gonna be a lot of mix of emotions and you know hesitation and fear, right? Like, because it's not easy to be done. Because like you gotta understand when you leave college, you're leaving your friends, you're leaving some of your closest friends that you've
Yes.
been around with for 4 or 5 years. Um, you know, you're leaving like the town that you were in, that you've been in for whatever, you know, whatever college town you've been in, you're leaving that town. So everything's like new. And not everybody has to leave. You know, some people get jobs in the same area, whatever, but most time people got to move out. And so I think people need to just understand too that I feel like it's a normal thing, right? It's going to happen, right?
Right.
So how do you feel about that? Because like now you're, you know, I know you're still active in like, you know, sports and wrestling and combat sports and stuff, but you're also a dad now, and you work and different things like that. Like, so how would you say like your transition was after basically life after athletics, right? You're still in it, I know, but I'm just saying, you know.
Well, I would say after college, it was different because I thought I was done wrestling. You know, like
Okay.
I had made a pretty conscious decision to be done.
Like completely?
Yeah, like going into 2014, 2015, I was like, these are the last matches I'm going to wrestle in my life.
For
Like,
real?
I don't want to wrestle again.
That's
Yes.
crazy. I've known Kyvan Gabs for a very long time now, and I never knew that.
Yeah,
But
like I was like going into 2014, I was like, this is how your career will end. This is how you'll be remembered. Um, Make sure you do everything in your sphere to maximize it and make the most of this chance. Like enjoy it, have fun, laugh, cry, like
right,
break yourself,
yeah,
build yourself, you know, like go through all of it.
yeah,
Like there's practices I would be crying, you know, like in practice, right? Like and there's practices I'd be super jovial, not like going through like, you know, manic episodes or
right,
anything, but
right,
just
right.
like I was experiencing every single emotion.
Hmm.
I was journaling about the feelings, the emotions that I was dealing with, all those things, because I was like, this is going to be it. I want to know, I want to remember how this feels
Right.
when it's all said and done. And so like I had worked with the athletic department to kind of maximize like my time, and so they had created a position for me as a graduate assistant in the Office of Student Athlete Development at
Mm-hmm.
the time. And I was like, I had talked with Jamie Pollard, the athletic director. I told him I was done. Like he was like, "Are you sure?" Because one thing he always did say was, like I'd pay a ridiculous amount of money to get one more year back of my eligibility.
Right.
So if you have it, like make sure it's the right decision. And I had a medical year,
Mm-hmm.
like because I had got injured my first couple of years of college, and I just emotionally, um, I think I was panicked in a way, and I was like, I can't do this for another year. Like I'm gonna go all in on 2014-15, and I'll be at peace with what happens.
So when you won your national title after that, like in your head, you were done with
I was
wrestling.
done. I was done. It's like a
I
walk
mean, that
off.
would have been a
That'd been a dope walk
yeah. I
off.
was it wouldn't have been bad.
That'd been a
Like,
dope walk off.
but dang, I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
it was really one of those things where you was kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna step away from the sport.
Yeah. And so like I had started my grad assistant position, and like April had came around, and like I think there was a lot of factors that kind of like rolled into it or played into it.
Mm-hmm.
But April came around. Kyle does go and win the U.S. Open. And people are like, man, you should be out there. He had beat Jaden again at the U.S. Open. He beat Varner, and people are like, oh man, you need to be wrestling. Da 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 da. And I'm just like, it's just not like it's not on my heart.
Right.
And then I started thinking, I'm like, well, why did you get in the sport? Like, well, you got in the sport because it was fun, but once you got into it, you really wanted to be the best at it.
Right.
Like, I think I want to be a great father. I want to be someday. I want to be a great husband. Like
Yeah.
I'd like to maximize and do things in that way. And so I want to be a great friend. And I know I can't be a great friend to everybody, but my closest people, I feel like I try to be very diligent and supportive of the people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, like 4 months in, like probably like June-ish, I'm like, do you really see yourself like sitting at a desk,
Mm-hmm.
like for the next
Yeah.
20, 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, you'll be helpful to people, but will you feel like you left something on the table? Like,
Right.
will you feel like you didn't maximize your abilities or
Mm-hmm.
your skills and the natural gifts that God did give you, but those ones that you also worked extremely diligent to hone? Like,
Yeah.
will you feel like you left that out there?
Right.
And I was like, yeah. So I was like, I reluctantly went to the head of student athlete development, which was assistant athletic director Patrice Fulner at the time, and Jamie, and was like, I got to find out if I can be an Olympic champ. And I feel like they were very understanding, because that really could have burnt me. Like you started an
Right.
opportunity, and they created this opportunity and position for you to get your master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
finalize some things, and then 3 months in, 4 months in, you get cold feet. Like
Yeah.
it's a bad look,
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate them understanding what that would have meant for me if they would have been like, nah, you can't do that. And I'd have to make a very, very hard decision at that point. But they worked with me. Coach Jackson worked with me, and so we showed up to the Olympic trials in 2016. We made the cut, taking third at the U.S. Senior Nationals, which was in December of 2015. Um, and like I felt like I was in a good spot, to compete. And I actually ended up losing to Jake Varner 4-0 in the semifinals of the Olympic trials in Carver Hawkeye. Um, and it was just like, man. So then I lost on the backside as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it would have been like probably like sixth on the ladder. I would have ended up that year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, okay, you got to really make some changes.
Yeah.
Like you got to really make some changes. And then you got to see Kyle go on and do everything that he did. He wins in 16, the Olympic Games, and you're just like, man, you watch Jaden take Olympic bronze in 16 too. And so like these are guys that you competed with, you know. And so
Right.
it's like where's the disconnect? Why aren't you?
Why aren't you right
You're
there?
like you're comparing, you know,
Yeah.
like and I think at times that can be important to look at things that people are doing, but also just really internally looking in yourself. And so I continue to compete from 17 national team world alternate, 18 national team world alternate, 19 national team world alternate. So number 2 on the ladder those 3 years straight. Every year losing to Kyle, you know, same guy, and just trying to figure out like what it was. You know, like was it environment? Was it me?
Right.
Was it technical? Was it conditioning? Like really like analyzing all the facets of it of why I wasn't getting over this hump. Because it's like you can't just accept like, oh, this person's just better than you,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like no, you gotta,
Especially when you've already beat them.
yeah, like it's like figure it out, you know. Um, and so like looking at all those things, it was important for me, but like things had changed, you know. Was a father, husband at the time, you know, different things. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say my life after competing, which really started May of 22 last year, right? So like a year from like where we're at right now. I started working in the office of student athlete and letter winner engagement after the Olympic trials
Mm-hmm.
in 2021 uh, uh, at Iowa State. And so trying to help other student athletes learn about themselves, it forced me to address and evaluate and learn about myself. And I feel like that was super important. And so like now I'm in a role at, where I'm a assistant director of the or associate director of development for a nonprofit that's affiliated with Iowa State, and I'm doing fundraising. But at times I feel like, is there still more? You know, like 2024, could you do it? Do you
Mm-hmm.
want to do it? Do you want to put in that energy? Do you have the capacity to put in that energy while still being a dad, while still being a working professional? Like I listened to Wrestling Changed My Life with Chris Campbell, and he
Mm-hmm.
talked about what he did
Right.
when he came back when he was 36. I'm like, oh, I'm 30, you know, would be 32 around that time. It's like, can you do that?
Right.
What would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
What would your support system have to be? And I've been extremely blessed, like from the doctors to my coaches to training partners to um, massage therapists, you know, to trainers like Tim Wiesner, you
Yeah.
know, like you
Shout
know
out to
Tim,
Tim Wiesner,
like
best trainer in the game.
like the amount of time I spent with him was probably more than I spent with the coaches
Yeah.
because I had to keep my body intact.
Right.
And so Tim was always there, you know, like even like at Olympic trials, Allison Anderson, she owns a business called Dynamic Mobility. And she was in the Ames area. She moved out to California. Shout out to her because she's amazing. She's worked with USA Track. She's been to different world championships, major track
Yeah.
events, all those things. So we were talking leading up to Olympic trials in 2021. I knew I was coming off my growing tear injury, and I was like, I need you to be at Olympic trials. So
Mm-hmm.
we figured it out, got her to Olympic trials, and the match before, because I didn't really get to train for Olympic trials, like growing tear in November 21, November of 20. So tore off the bone, couldn't wrestle until maybe February, March to get ready for beginning of April.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I need you to be there because I just feel like my body's gonna shut down, and like massage just helps like kind
Yeah.
of open some things up. Like after my match on the consolation side, um, I have my final match, which is going to decide national team and the last Olympic alternate, so the second Olympic alternate, and it's with Mike Machiavello.
Mm-hmm.
I and Mock, if you know anything about Mike, the man wrestles hard,
Right.
like just wrestles hard, intelligently, great pace. I mean, he's built himself up,
Mm-hmm.
and I right after my match before that, I literally came back off the mat and I couldn't like open or close my hands. Like
Forearms was tight,
forearms just
burning.
shot
Yeah.
because I hadn't really got to train
And
how
yeah.
was necessary,
That's a
right? So
real thing for real.
like I'm like my hands are like this, and I
Yeah.
can't open them, can't close them, and I literally like I'm like, Allison, we need to go behind this curtain, and I need you to just make it so I can use my hands,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we go. She like opens up, works on them, grass, some
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And I didn't want people to see me like in a compromised position, you know, like.
Right.
So that's why we went behind the curtain, and so she opens it up. I got some, you know, feeling back in my hands
Yeah.
and things like that. But like I've been blessed with like a lot of great people
Mm-hmm.
that have encouraged me to explore other opportunities and look at different things. And so I would say find those people.
Yeah.
Like find those people. Find your team, your support people, the people that love you and not love you in a toxic way, but love you in a truthful way. That they want to see you elevate yourself. They want to see you push yourself. They want to see you grow yourself away from this. And it's those people that have helped me like analyze different things like in like a business way. You know, like, well, how can I use my ability to commentate, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as a business endeavor? Or how can I use my ability to work with people and communicate and form relationships
Yeah.
as a way to monetize and, you know, make a living, you know? So I just think about those things. And so if I was going to say anything to, you know, athletes is like find your people,
Mm-hmm.
find your peace, and essentially like find your product, whether
Yeah.
that's yourself, and then put things into action.
Right.
Make a plan, put it into action, you know?
Yeah.
So like if we talking about PPP loans, like find your people,
Yeah.
find your piece, find your product. If your product is you,
Yeah.
hey, run it up. You know, like find ways to maximize and put those plans into action because the action is really what's gonna ultimately lead you to um, I think some of your happiest moments.
Right. Yeah. And I, like I said, I think it needs to be stressed that like, yo, it is literally so normal to not know what you're like, especially in today's age. It's so normal to not know exactly what you want to do right after college. Like it's okay. Like you put all this time into like your studies and into athletics. Like so, it's okay to like be like, man, I'm not really sure exactly what I want to do. Um, as long as you're like, trying to move forward and figure what that is out. If you're just, oh well, I'm gonna just be cooling right now. Like that's totally different. But I think it's okay to, um, just have those mixed emotions of not knowing what to do. As long as, like you said, having the right people around you, right? So,
Facts. Well, man, this was a good one. I mean, we
yep,
went
yeah, we did
longer
go
than
long.
we I think we planned on going, but
we,
yo, this is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, we've been delayed a little bit. Like we were both been busy, had some stuff coming up, but um, yeah, so a little bit longer than we wanted to go, but we wanted to cover some things, and yeah, this was good. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll start being a little more consistent. Wait, because you just graduated, right?
Yeah, I just graduated with my
Yeah, yeah,
master's,
yeah,
bro.
yeah.
I've been going to school and doing this, and so yeah, got my master's. Matter of fact, I got 3 degrees now, my boy.
Yeah, the associates,
Associates,
bachelors.
bachelors, and masters, bro.
Can't
I'm
get a.
about to,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
about to get that. I'm about to get that doctorate, boy.
Stop
That's what I'm about to
playing.
do. It's about to be Doctor Small to y'all.
Talk to him. Manifest it.
But
Well,
yeah,
this was awesome, man. Thank you all for joining in, checking us out. It was. I think this is a deeper one than our
yeah,
than
a
our
lot
first one.
deeper one. Um, and like we said, I my Twitter is tsmall28 and my Instagram is Todd_small28. And like, if you watch it, just DM us, let us know if there's anything that you guys want to like, want us to cover or anything. You could just be like, hey, like, I really like this, and just kind of give us like a little bit of feedback, so we can see where we want to like steer some of this stuff in the direction, right? So,
Absolutely love the feedback. Gas and strong. Holla at your boy.
yep, we out.